We have the 8 auspicious signs. That's a very common form of decoration within the Buddhist community, especially the Northern Buddhists. The 8 auspicious signs. And the 8 auspicious signs are the parasol, the golden fishes, the treasure vase, the lotus, the right turning conch shell. It means a conch shell that turns to the right and not to the left, because the right ones are more rare, conch shells. The glorious endless knot, and the victory sign, and the wheel. And what happens is that during the origin of this, in short, without going into a lot of detail, which is not necessary, the origin of this is during the time of Lord Buddha, when he was in Varanasi, when he finished, he became enlightened, and he gave his first Dharma talk ever. They were attended by men, women of all castes, all backgrounds, and by gods, by demigods, by nagas, and supernatural beings, even spirits, who came to hear the golden holy Buddha speak of the radiance of his body, the gloriousness of his presence, the feeling that even wild animals who go near him calm down. And this person is beyond recognition. The Buddha who has eliminated all sources of negativity. They came to listen to him. And when they came to listen to him, and the Buddha spoke and turned the wheel of Dharma for the first time, that has benefited so many hundreds and thousands of people through time. And his teachings are timeless. And he didn't speak from scriptures. He spoke from 3 aeons of intensive practice. He spoke from his realization. He spoke from his direct perception of samsara and reality. So he's looking at something and telling you. He's not reading something and telling you. And what happens was that this brought relief to so many people. This brought freedom for so many people. Even some of the gods were liberated. Even some of the gods realized that their godly state is not the end. And many people were, even if they didn't get instant realization, many people calmed down. Many people, their minds settled down. Many people became happy. Many people, the light came on. Many people. Animals calmed down. The weather changed. There was earthquakes. Even the gods, the land gods, Sada, Datos, all that, they showed signs of their pleasure. Many. You know, sometimes we move into a new house or we move someplace and we make offerings of Dato. Sometimes it will rain. Why? They show you that they're happy. And so the gods, there are 6 realms in samsara. The upper 2 is the gods and demigods. They live for a very long time. They're very attractive. They have clairvoyance. They have power, but they will die, and they have to fall into lower states of birth. And it goes up and down. Anyway, the gods were so incredibly moved by the Buddha, were so incredibly taken aback that he was a god that didn't challenge the gods, because the gods are always at war. They're always fighting. They're always fighting somebody, something, because they have jealousy also. And that this Buddha, without any negative qualities, spoke, and his voice was radiant, and his presence was calming and soothing, and his whole countenance was that of ethereal, different type of person. Everybody can feel it. And so therefore, the gods to celebrate and to make offerings and to show the pleasure to everyone that what is being spoken is true. That whatever the Buddha says with their clairvoyance, they can see into the future. That if we do this, that does result in that. And that someone spoke the truth, even they didn't know. Even with their clairvoyance, they didn't know. You see, because they don't have a method, they can just see. And so with this truth spoken, with the first Dharma wheel being turned, and Lord Buddha spoke in Varanasi, and that place is marked now by a huge stupa. It's a very big pilgrimage place in India. I've gone many times. And we all should go. We all should go one day. And going to pilgrimage purifies the mind and purifies the body and releases a lot of negative karma. The Buddha himself recommended to go to the 4 holy places after he has passed away. It's his own recommendation. And being such a humble person, for him to say that must have a lot of significance. So anyways, when he spoke and he gave the Dharma, the different people, the kings came and made offerings immediately. How they showed their pleasure. And the ordinary people offered food. And some patrons and sponsors came and offered a rainy season retreat. People offered robes to Lord Buddha and his disciples. And people cleared the way, and they swept the floor, and they threw flowers and saffron. And some people who were of meager means, to celebrate what they heard was so calming and the truth, Some burned incense. Some musicians played music and offered that to Lord Buddha. And without attachment, Lord Buddha accepted and listened, and in return, he offered the Dharma to them again. And the gods, who have supernatural powers, manifested the 8 auspicious signs in the sky. The 8 auspicious signs in the sky for everyone present to see, as an offering to Lord Buddha, as a resemblance to the awakened mind, and also symbolizing the different states of the awakened mind. They manifested as a group, as an offering to Lord Buddha, 8 auspicious signs. And those auspicious signs were recorded, and they were taken down. And why? Just because they're by the gods is not a big deal, but because they themselves represent some state of mind. And for a lot of illiterate people, when they would see the parasol, they see the double fish, it has some deep meaning for them because they couldn't read. And most of the people at the time were illiterate farmers. That had a lot of significance. Now we use these items as decorational purposes, beautiful things. You know, we put it in houses, we put it on doors, we put it over on flags or whatever. In temples, we put it, in our houses, we put it on our altars. We put that, why? Because they're beautiful to look at. They're beautiful because their nature represents some form of enlightened mind. And they originate from an offering to the Buddha. So if it's good enough for Buddha, it's good enough for us. And it's become something very decorational and very beautiful. And that's the origin of them and where they come from. So the first one, the first of the 8 auspicious signs is the parasol. All right? I don't know if you can see that clearly here, the parasol. The first of the 8 auspicious signs is the parasol. And the parasol is a sign of wealth on a normal level, because very rich ladies in Europe in ancient times, a people of status in the East, in India at that time, because India was the top, in China, they were the top of the cream of the crop of the eastern side, 100 years ago. A sign of luxury was able to have the luxury to have fair skin. That meant you didn't work in the fields. So it was some kind of status symbol. So having an umbrella, whether your skin is fair or not, represents you don't have to work in the fields. So you're somebody. And then to have somebody to carry that, that's great. Or to have a servant carry that for you wherever you went was wow. Like you really are somebody. And that represented your wealth, it represented your rank, and it represented your status. So that parasol above you, wherever you went, was to show your success and who you are. But in the religious context, when you manifest the parasol to Lord Buddha, what happens is that the parasol is to protect you from heat, the sun. Basically it's that, but it's become a status symbol. And in religious spheres, it's translated into protection against the heat of the defilements. So now we don't run around with parasols. When we offer a parasol to High Lama, actually when your guru or your High Lama comes to the temple, the center, from his vehicle, his horse, his mount, whatever, we have a parasol accompanying him. It doesn't really have to protect him from the sun, but it's a show of respect that this person will give you teachings to remove you from defilements. So when you offer a parasol to an enlightened being, in symbolism, in art, on tankas, when you offer a parasol to an enlightened being, the meaning is it protects from the sun, but in this case, from the heat of our own defilements, of our own deluded mind. So when we offer parasols to enlightened beings on the mandala, on our altar, on temples, what we do is we're making this offering to the Buddhas inside, so we can collect the causes for us to be removed from defilements and hence shaded and protected from the sun. This is symbolism of a parasol. All right, in short. And high religious dignitaries, secular rulers, they would have silk parasols in the past and peacock feathers. In Tibet, His Holiness was the only one that would have a silk parasol and a peacock feather to represent who he was. He was a secular leader and a religious leader. So he would have both. And he didn't require or demand it. It was an offering from the people who have so much confidence in his compassion and who he is, because he's Avalokiteshvara. And so, even now in the monasteries in Gandhin, even modern day, when our gurus and high lamas come, go and give teachings, we carry a parasol. I mean, not every day. Wherever they go, they go here. We don't carry. On special certain times, we carry a parasol. Show deep respect. Show deep respect is one thing, but to also create the karma that we can receive teachings that remove our defilements. It's an offering. So in our mandala offerings, in our visualizations, in our tantric practices, we offer this. Visualized strongly. The effect is the same. And so, within the 8 symbols, the parasol stands as a sign of spiritual power in the positive sense, as with many other signs. Spiritual power. The meaning of the symbol is transferred from the worldly to the spiritual level. So you have status, you have wealth, you have rich, you're somebody. All right? That's translated into spiritual terms, power. Power of what? Power to control your negativity. So that's what the parasol represents. The first of the 8 auspicious signs. And it's a wonderful offering to put on our altars. It's a wonderful offering to put anywhere. And we see that because Tibetan art is very rich and very beautiful and decorative. People like it. They like to put it here and there. It's very popular all around the world among Buddhists and non-Buddhists. And the thing is, when you hear this and you understand this and you know what it's about, its origin, you go, oh, it has much more significance. When it has significance, when you offer it, it's much better. Much, much better. So the second is the golden fishes. Sernya. The 2 golden fishes are either standing vertically or parallel, slightly crossed, with heads down and turned towards each other. Originally in India, the fishes represented sacred rivers of the Ganges and Yamuna, because those rivers are very, very sacred. And they were sacred for many reasons. They were life-giving. And as a symbol of good fortune, great good fortune, the 2 fishes represent wealth, growth, abundance, and increase. And when you translate that into spiritual terms, the increase of your wonderful positive qualities. And therefore, it would indirectly affect your karma and the causes for poverty, so that you would gain great wealth, spiritual wealth, inner and outer, benefit others. So the 2 golden fishes represent wealth, prosperity on a normal level, that Dharma can bring this, and on a higher level, inner wealth. Because river is growth. Fish from a river means the river is alive, and the river has growth. It provides, it nourishes. All right, so the 2 fishes represent wealth, spiritual and mundane. Then the third is the treasure vase. Terching Gi Bomba. Okay? Wealth vase. And the wealth vase is very, very symbolic in Buddhism. Very, very symbolic. And many cultures have things associated with vases and lamps and all that stuff, and magical things come out of it. Well, there is no magic lamp. There's no magic vase. But someone who's attained has the ability to multiply, has the ability to create some miracles, has the ability to benefit, has the ability, the real miracle is to transform your minds, to let you realize your state of mind, through patience, consistency, and compassion, and to teach you and to explain and to absorb all your difficulties and absorb your difficult states of mind and absorb your complaints and problems. So absorb that and return, still give you compassion, still patiently teach, still patiently share, still patiently give the Dharma to you. So a wealth vase is very symbolic because in ancient times when you had a bumper crop, you would store things away. So the shape of these storage vessels looked like the vases. So it was satisfaction in having material desires. It means everything you needed materially, you had. You had. And in the spiritual term, the vase is often associated with the possession of supernormal abilities. So when you offer the vase to the Buddha, representation, you are in fact indirectly offering this request to Buddha, may I gain supernatural and supernormal abilities like you in order to benefit others. May I gain these abilities. The third eye, not just seeing spirits, but being able to help them. May I gain the power to control the weather. May I gain the power to exercise and calm negative situations. And you are requesting the Buddha with the precious vase, the treasure vase, to attain supernatural powers. But not on a level that is low, on a level to benefit others. So among the 8 symbols, the treasure vase meant fulfillment of spiritual and material wishes. Spiritual and material wishes meant the fulfillment of spiritual and material wishes, and simultaneously creating the causes for us to attain the higher attainments from meditation. A very, very powerful offering. So people want power, people want clairvoyance, they want this, but you have to know how to get it. You have to create the causes for it. All right? And many of the wealth deities, many of the wealth deities, you'll see they carry this wealth vase. Because they're enlightened and they're Buddhas, they can supply you with all the wealth, inner and outer, that you need. And so holding the wealth vase represents fulfilling your spiritual and material needs. The next one is the lotus. Lotuses don't grow in Tibet. There's no lotus in Tibet. It's too high. I don't know. There's just lotuses do not grow in Tibet, but they were very common in India. And lotuses are picked out of the whole menagerie of flowers, because they rise above the lake high. And there are other flowers that grow on the lake also. But the difference between a lotus is that its stem is very thick and very strong, and it usually rises between 8 to 12 inches above the surface of the water. Very different than others. And it is a symbol of divinity and purity. Divinity and purity. Meaning you have reached an exalted state. You are divine. That's why you always see Kuan Yin holding a lotus as a symbol to let you know her purity. And she is divine. She's arisen from it. Therefore, you see lotuses throughout Buddhist iconography among deities. Because it represents divinity and it represents purity. And more so, when you offer the lotus up to the Buddha, symbolically, meditational-wise, real lotuses, drawing, carvings, what you're asking for is this: may I have mental purity. So when you offer the lotus up to the Buddha, you are creating the causes for your mind to become pure, free from impurities. And that's what you're doing. So every time you offer a lotus, you're asking the Buddha, please bless me that I may gain mental purity, clarity. So that's your aspirational prayers through this. And then when you engage in the practice, it's easier because you've made the prayers and the blessings of the Buddha. And that's why we make these offerings. All right, that's the lotus. The next one is the right turning conch shell. Again, conch shells are common, but they're left turning. The right turning or clockwise turning conch shell is more rare and therefore valued higher. All right? Anything in this world that's more rare is valued higher. And what happens is that it is a powerful sound. It is used as an instrument. And it is used to call the assembly to come and meditate, come pray, come to chant. It is used as an offering, as a victorious sound of victory. In ancient battles, example in the Mahabharata, when Krishna won, immediately a conch shell was blown. It's a victorious sound. Natural from the ocean. It's not made. It's a natural instrument. And it's pure, it's white, it's clean, it's beautiful. So in ancient times, it was blown as a musical instrument to announce the arrival of a dignitary or a high lama, high guru. And in Tibet, it's still done the same. It's an offering of sound. And it represents the fame of Buddha's teachings, that like sound, it travels into the 10 directions. Why? Compassion always prevails. Always. And it has a purely religious significance because when you offer the conch shell up to the Buddha, or in iconography, imagination, whatever, or on your altar or in carvings, you're requesting the Buddha to turn the wheel of the Dharma and not to stop. And then you are also requesting the Buddha that you are able to serve the Buddha, in your case, your guru, whoever, to spread the Dharma far and wide, so that it becomes like the sound of a conch shell pervading. So when you offer that, it is the pervasion of Buddha's teachings, the pervasion of the teachings of truth into the 10 directions. And it represents the Dharma teachings victory over negativity. And on an inner level, victory over yourself. The conch shell is very powerful. Right? The next one is the endless knot. And the endless knot is, I don't know if you can see here, is a knot with 8 angles that joins each other, and there's no beginning and there's no end in this knot. Tendril. Okay, there's no beginning, no end. And it can be used on its own, it can be used together. And this knot is very popular because it represents there's no beginning and there's no end. It represents interdependence. It represents that we need each other to survive. We need everyone to survive. So whether we like it or not, we're interdependent. And to realize that since we're interdependent, it will be more useful for us to get along than not get along. Interdependency and the truth of it. And it's simple and it's nice. And also that when we practice, when we realize the Buddha's teachings, our happiness will be no beginning and no end. Our happiness will be endless, non-stop. And so when the gods offered this symbol to Lord Buddha when he gave a teaching, the meaning was, when we listen to your teachings and we practice and we achieve it, our happiness is endless. Endless. It doesn't end. Unlike worldly happiness, it ends. It stops. And if it doesn't stop during our life, it stops at death. Everything is taken away. So the endless knot is conceived to be auspiciousness in the highest degree. And on a simple level, when we put an auspicious sign on a card, because these in Tibet they have cards, today cards, what it means, endless friendship. It's a symbolism that may I never part from you, may I always be your friend, may I always be there for you, may you always be there for me. It's a symbol of endless friendship, endless purity, endless attainments, endless happiness. And on a teaching level, interdependence. And the realization of that and the act upon interdependence will bring endless happiness. So sometimes we have protector cabinets and we have our protector deity inside. On the door, we'll put one knot. We don't need the 8 auspicious. That one's very auspicious because it has a lot of meaning. So when we offer that to the Buddha, we're requesting him, may I realize the teachings so that I can bring endless happiness to other beings. No beginning, no end. All right? And the victory sign. The next one is the victory sign. And that is different than a parasol. Because a parasol is something like an umbrella type of thing and it's big. A parasol is just long like that. Made of the same cloth and it's long. And what a parasol represents is, it can be made of silks, it can be made of metals, gold, and on temple tops, Tibetan temple tops, you'll see the parasol all the time in the 4 directions. Protected parasols are black in color with a trisum, tripod on top. So it represents the victory of the Dharma protectors. And there's many types of parasols. In the center of a Dharma hall, if you go to a big monastery, like many of you have gone to Gandhin, where I'm from, you'll see a very big parasol in the middle of the prayer hall to represent victory of the Sangha over samsara. So when you offer a parasol to the Sangha, to the temple, or when you offer it to the Buddha, it means, may I have victory over my delusional mind, immediate delusional mind. May I win. So when you try to have patience, when you try to curb jealousy, when you try to stamp down your anger, you can win. You can control it, and you can be victorious. And therefore, like ancient generals, they wave the parasol to show their victory. This is the mental parasol that's offered to the Buddhas. What it represents is victory over one's defilements. Victory over one's defilements. And it's a very, very auspicious sign to offer up. And victory over the Buddha's teachings, victory over knowledge over ignorance, victory over all hindrances, victory over all unhappiness. Total victory. The Buddha of wealth, the protector of wealth, Vaishravana, which we have in Zambala Mystical Treasures and One Uttama, you see a deity sitting on a snow lion. He's holding a parasol. Here, in his right hand, it's a parasol. In his left hand, he's holding a mongoose emitting jewels. So why is that? He is victorious over all defilements. You see that? That is a parasol, all right? Then the next one is the Dharma wheel. And for very, very obvious reasons, the last is the Dharma wheel. For very obvious reasons, they can be 6, 8, 12, 32, or 1,000 spoked wheels. Let me repeat, 6, 8, 12, 32, and 1,000. Okay? 6 represents the 6 paramitas. 8 represents the Eightfold Path, as in a Dharma spoke. The 12 represent the 12 interdependent links in samsara that we need to practice to cut. 12 interdependent links. 32 represents the 32 supernatural marks of a Buddha that defines him from other humans. And 1,000 represents the 1,000 Buddhas that will appear in this fortunate aeon. So how many spokes you want to use on a Dharma wheel, it doesn't really matter. It represents the Buddha. And it represents the teachings of the Buddha, and it being a wheel turns, so setting into motion the wheel is the turning of the wheel of Dharma. So during Dharma talks, people offer Dharma wheels up to their teacher. Even in visualization, when they do the mandala offering for teachings, they offer Dharma wheel up. Turn the wheel of Dharma. And you'll see that all over Buddhist monasteries, international. On the front door, a Dharma wheel flanked by 2 deers. The 2 deers represent great compassion, male and female energy conjoined, balanced. And the wheel represents this place is Dharma. This place is for Dharma. This place is for bringing you to Dharma. It's Dharma. All right? And if you want a little more, then it represents the 3 trainings. The hub of the wheel represents training in moral discipline, which the mind is supported and becomes stabilized. When we train in moral discipline, the mind is very stabilized. The spokes stand for application of wisdom in regards to emptiness, cutting off ignorance. So the spokes of the Dharma wheel represents application of wisdom in regards to realization of emptiness, in which ignorance is totally cut off, doing things out of not knowing. And lastly, the rim. The rim denotes the training in concentration, which holds the practice together. So the rim holds everything together, and like that, it is concentration. With concentration and awareness, we keep our practice together. Because without concentration, like the rim of the wheel can't stay together. The rim holds it together. So like that, what holds all our practice together, what keeps our practice together is awareness, concentration. When we're not aware, whatever practice we get, we forget, we can't do, we're not aware. Awareness is what holds it all together. All right, that's the 8 auspicious signs, and there's a beautiful way in which it relates to the Buddhas. And I'm going to read it for you very quick, and we can reproduce this, because it's a very quick way to remember their benefits. Veneration to you, with your head like a protecting parasol of good fortune. And this is praising the Buddha, with eyes like the precious golden fish of good fortune, with a neck like a precious adorned vase of good fortune, with a tongue like an open lotus leaf of good fortune, speaking about compassion, with a speech like a right-turning Dharma wheel shell of good fortune, resounds in the 10 directions, with a mind like a radiant, glorious knot of good fortune, the mind unending in happiness and realizations, with a body like a precious, imperishable victory sign of good fortune. So the Buddha's body is like a victory banner. Wherever he goes, he brings victory and happiness. And with feet that possesses golden wheel of fortune of enlightened activities. Because on the Buddha's hands and feet, there are Dharma chakra wheels. So like that, the 8 auspicious signs are likened to the Buddha's physical form and mental qualities. Easy for us to rate, and it's a praise. The 8 auspicious things are of excellent realizations, May every good fortune of these 8 precious things allow good fortune to rain down on us here and now. May there ever be well-being through these signs that I offer to Lord Buddha. So this is a very beautiful prayer that we can do when we offer the 8 auspicious signs, praising the Buddha and asking for the qualities ourselves. It's very, very deep. And it is a longer prayer, which I'm not going to read. It's a little more detailed, not necessary. And so the 8 auspicious signs are auspicious because what was more auspicious when the Buddha first opened his mouth and talked? What can be more auspicious than that? So the signs appeared. And they're auspicious also because these days they're still relevant to the states of a mind that we want to achieve when we see these symbols. And they're also relevant when we make these offerings up to the Buddha, whether in drawing, tanka, whatever, images. It represents what they were intended for originally when they were offered to the Buddha, and we will gain those states of mind. You create the causes. So they're actually your prayers in symbolic form. So they are your prayers in symbolic form.